Welcome once again to Chit Chat. Some conversations are fun, and oftentimes they are soul stirring. And yes, there are programs that are emotional, whereas there are some programs that are necessary and very informative. And today is just one of those programs where you need to listen to this conversation. And with me in studio today, Sunshine Keela, she's here with me once again. I know last week she would have said, yes, mommy, I just feel, well, this is it. But she is here today, and just hearing the obstacles that Keela would have gone through and the real life struggles that she had to overcome would put your life in perspective. So, parents, if you have teenagers, this conversation could save their life and yours. Welcome to Chit Chat, Keela, once again.
Hi again, mommy.
I think you should call you, yes, mommy. Everybody's like, I can't wait for mommy. You know, thank you so much. I must say, you know, that when you connected with me and you said, Mom, you know, I feel led, not within your own self. And I think that this was a move from the Holy Spirit, that there are some issues, some things that, some trauma that you would have experienced that you just didn't open up that part of you to share. And it's for us to understand that Chit Chat, as much as we are coming from the level of the church, it's not about just old talk. It's about real life issues, real life story, talking from a very genuine place of brokenness and how God would have been able to heal us. So it's not Young and the Restless. It's not about just one of those things where you just can't wait, one of those conversations, you can't wait for the next episode. You know, just for persons to understand that the people who would come on Chit Chat are persons who would have gone through some ordeals in their lives, and now they are here to share their testimony. And there's that saying, if you didn't go through the mess, then you wouldn't have a message. And if we didn't go through that test, we would not have a testimony. And so, as the pastor of the church, and even from my personal stand, I know that God would have called me, seeing that I too would have gone through struggles, and it would have been able to help so many persons. But before I pass over to you, let me just talk a bit on the reviews that we would have received this week. I really want to thank God for all of you and for the comments. A lot of persons now are calling for a lot of counseling, persons who want to accept Christ as their Savior, because a Chit Chat would have been transforming their lives. And I want to say thank you so much. And yes, we would be reaching out to you, as we have started to reach out to you, so that you also can be transformed and heal. Welcome, Keela.
Welcome again. Thank you again.
All right, let's talk about what have motivated you and compelled you to share your story today.
Well, what would have happened is I met a young lady at the supermarket this week, and she was actually in the seasoning aisle, and she was picking up parsley, and I said, I just said hi because I know her from around, and she said, you see this parsley that I'm picking up, it's because I looked at your last episode and you said to get parsley to garnish your life and to garnish your food, and I'm also trying to garnish my life. And she was just telling me thanks for being so open. She was also sharing with me and letting me know that she would have been a victim of a rape incident at one point in time, but she doesn't have the courage to talk about it.
Yes.
And she never opened up about it. So I didn't share my story with her then, but I let her know that I was able to identify with what she was feeling because I went through something similar. And that's the reason why I'm here today, because I believe that my story might be able to help someone or to heal someone.
Let me just congratulate you, because you would have had to come from a very deep place and mentally being able to open up yourself and share of maybe some deep things that you would have kept to yourself. So I want to really commend you for being so open today, being so candid and frank, and being able to share your story. So tell us about your experience or experiences.
Okay, so I have never spoken about it before, so this is my first time opening up about it. I was never raped, but I was sexually assaulted on more than one occasion.
Let's talk about this daughter.
My first experience would have been when I was 10. We had a family friend, an unofficial uncle or godfather, if you want to call it that. And I remember us being home and you were in the kitchen.
Yes.
And, well, he would normally stop by. And I remember him coming that night and I was sitting watching the TV. And he was talking with you all because we were all in the same space. And the moment that you looked away, he groped me. So he grabbed my breasts. And I was so shaken up that I froze. And all he said was, "So what you going to do about it?" And at the time, I said nothing. So when he left, I remember telling you and my dad about it. And you all were so furious about what he had done. I was confused at the time because
because I was now about to ask you about the emotions. What are some of the emotions that you would have felt during this encounter? But even as you go forward, because I don't want to stop you, today is your day to share your story. Let me commend you highly, and this is something we parents need to understand. Because of the level of openness that we would have been able to share as from mother to daughter, or the openness as a family, you were able to come to us right away and say, hey, something went wrong, and it felt very uncomfortable. Let's talk about this, and you go through with the story.
So I felt uncomfortable, and because it was shocking for me, because I've never experienced anything like that, because like I said, I was 10. I remember telling you all, and you all were furious, especially my dad, because I think he was closer with my dad than with any of us. I did not know what you all spoke about, but I know that my dad had intervened, because 2 days later, he came back and he apologized to me. And whatever it is that my dad said, it was so effective that every time I saw him after that, if he saw me in town, he would apologize incessantly and say how sorry he was. And I kid you not, he was apologizing to me all up to I was 18. And I was still getting apologies from him when I met him in town. I would talk about generally my overall feelings because it's more than one incident that I had. So that was one. My second incident, I was 14 and I was in high school. I had evening classes that day, and that teacher, he was not my teacher, but I knew him because he was my neighbor's boyfriend. He lived in the same village with us.
I remember that.
So we were cordial because he was my neighbor. So I remember having evening classes and seeing him after the classes, and he said, "What subject did you have?" So I told him, and he said, "I have a book that could help you with that subject." So he said, "Well, come to the staff room and get the book." So I went to the staff room because, like I said, it's somebody that I know. I went to the staff room, and I remember him locking the door and bending me over the table, the desk. I remember us fighting for like 2 to 3 minutes.
And were there any other teachers?
No, it was just us because it's after school. I remember him and me struggling for like 2 to 3 minutes for him to get my underwear down.
Wow.
I remember him taking out his private parts and rubbing against me then, rather than, well, penetration didn't occur because I was able to escape, which was God.
Thank God.
For me, that experience, it was worse than the first because you're 14 and you've never seen a man in all his glory like that.
Yes.
So it would have been even more traumatizing than the first one. I remember again coming home and telling you all about it, and I remember us meeting with the principal.
Yeah, because we would have always take the necessary steps to ensure that we would have dealt with these situations. Yes.
I remember it was an Ash Wednesday, and he came to the office with the ashes on his forehead. I remember that day. So he came that day and we spoke. It was you, myself, my dad, and the principal. And we spoke at length about what took place and the way forward.
Yes.
We dealt with that very privately, of course. And again, I believe my father has his means and his ways that he deals with things without telling us, because he left the school after that. He was no longer a teacher there. I don't know where he went, but he was no longer there. That was my second. And my third, and I'm just going to share a fraction.
Wow, you have a lot of experiences,
Yeah.
and as you go on to share, it points me to purpose. God really have a plan for your life, because God says, before I formed you, I knew you, and I created you with purpose in mind. And even from the womb, as we would have shared over the past couple weeks, that the enemy, his target was all against destroying you as from a very early age. And so we see that there were series of events and trauma that followed you, traumatic ordeals that followed you throughout your sojourn. Let's talk about that next experience.
So,
And I know it's taking a lot from you. And go ahead.
so the third time that I experienced an assault, I think I was about 16. I remember coming to see you at your office at the program for adolescent mothers that was in Lowlands. And for me, that one is, it's in bits and pieces because that one is vague. I remember taking a taxi from the street stand to come to Lowlands. And I remember passing the port, and then I don't remember
That was the last
anything
thing that
else.
you remember.
I remember passing the port, and then I remember ending up at your office.
But you didn't remember?
No, I don't remember what happened in between, but I remember when I ended up at your office, I remembered either my hands or my fingers were bleeding.
Yes.
I remember you saying, and you were frantic because you tried calling me and you couldn't get me. I wasn't answering my phone.
With that episode, I remember vividly. I was at my office, but I sensed within my spirit that something was wrong. Because I was expecting you, but I realized that the time was passing. And so my spirit, I got troubled in my spirit, and I sensed that something was wrong. And I kept praying, God's covering over your life. I kept praying. And within an hour or two, you showed up. But when you showed up, I was like, what is wrong with you? Because you was just a bit dazed, you was out of it, and you were bleeding from your hands. And I'm asking, what happened? How come you managed to come this late? And you were just saying, I just don't know. I got into a car, and from there on, I didn't know where I was taken. I don't know what happened. I don't know how I arrived here, but I'm here. And I remember when we spoke, me and your dad again, to be on the safe side, just to ensure that you were safe. You know, I'm always teary. You say, Mommy, don't cry today. I'm crying today, no tears. Just a little emotional, you know. And I remember we went to the health center because I just wanted to ensure that you were so safe and you weren't tampered with sexually. And we really want to thank God for that, because everything was intact. And so, as you would have shared, I know that this was only God. This was only God. And I am of the firm belief that, and I know that there are so many things that you can talk about, but there are many women and girls who experience trauma and they refuse to tell anyone about it, and they choose to hold on to it. They keep it as a secret. Again, I would talk about God's protection over our lives, but there are a lot of women that are listening and they would have been touched inappropriately, and even from the level of abuse, you know, a lot of abuse have been taking place, and there's no one that they can confide in or talk to. How would you encourage? Because I sense in my spirit that there are a lot of women who would have experienced these traumatic ordeals and they just don't know how to find that strength to talk about it. But because you were able to overcome, because it's only when you overcome you can able to share without feeling embarrassed, or because you know this is helping someone. How would you advise women as to being very open and be able to stand up for what they believe in?
Initially for me, what I would have felt and what I would have thought about myself is I felt not so much ashamed nor guilty. Because I think in my early years when I had the first incident, y'all were able to assure me that I did nothing wrong.
No, you didn't.
And it was not my fault. And for me, I think the biggest emotion that I would have experienced out of everything would have been fear. It would have been fear, and I felt tainted in the sense that when it happened to me the first time, then it happened the second time.
Yes.
I felt like the first incident tainted me, and then it kind of, everything else just kept following me. So that's why I felt tainted. But being encouraged that it wasn't my fault, I knew that I wasn't responsible. Secondly, I had to realize and understand that the emotions that I was experiencing were just symptoms of what happened, and it wasn't a reality. So I had to come to that conclusion quickly. Also, for me, what I want to tell people is you have to find somebody that you could talk to.
Yes.
Somebody that you could trust. Somebody that you could confide in.
Yes.
Because things like these, assaults and trauma and rape and abuse, it leaves you feeling powerless, it leaves you feeling vulnerable, it leaves you feeling like if your body is the enemy. You feel like if maybe it was me, maybe I dressed sexy, maybe I was...
because I was just about to ask you, if you find that maybe you would have, and you were saying maybe
no, but I'm 10.
It wasn't blaming.
But I'm
Yes,
10.
yes.
I can't dress sexy at 10. I can't dress sexy at 14. I was
Yes.
in my school uniform. So it even wasn't a case where you were being flirtatious. It's a case where rape is a crime of opportunity. It has nothing to do, it's very rare, it's the prey or the individual. It's a crime of opportunity, and persons, that's the reason why anybody commits any act of crime. Once they believe that they could do something and get away with it, that is what it was about. So for me, find somebody that you could talk to. I believe in grounding yourself in the present and not constantly living in the past. I know it is not always easy. It's easier said than done. But for me, it was for me to find coping skills. Do something that makes you feel valuable. Do something that makes you feel happy, that reassures yourself of your worth. That's the advice that I could give.
Yeah, because I was now asking about women who would be able to regain that sense of control and rebuild their self-worth after going through this trauma. And so now I hear you talking about giving them that level of coping skills so that they can then cope. Yes?
But you would always have flashbacks.
Because I was about to ask you, because there would have been that alone time when you would have to go through this thing, rehearsing it, talk about this experience.
So you would have flashbacks, you might have nightmares, you would have triggers. And sometimes it's for you to understand, one, your body. And I'm going to take it into a different spin with regards to teenagers or even adults, young adults and grown folks. Sometimes when you have these experiences as a child or children, you would ask yourself as a parent, you don't understand why your daughter is acting out, why she's promiscuous. One, she may have experienced something that she never spoke about. But taking it from a biological standpoint, I have a degree in behavioral sciences. And they normally say that counselors need counseling too. But I didn't understand this. I still didn't even understand it after I had my degree, because I still had to talk to someone after that. But being able to read and understand and going through those different topics, then you get a better understanding of why you act the way that you act, or why people do the things that they do. And with regards to children or even women in general, you might think someone is promiscuous and you're not sure why she's promiscuous. You might see Pastor Sonia having problems with my daughter, she just only running away and it's boys. Sometimes we have to look at things, like I said, from a biological standpoint. One, we as women, you know, before your menses and after your menses, you feel the most set of tingling, because I know kids watch the show, so I use choice words. So you don't understand, but just as an adult, because you are more aroused just before or after you menstruate, it's the same thing that happens, and you would have a teenager that is now experiencing that at 11. and she doesn't know how to act on those feelings. So it's for you then to advise your daughter to talk to them about these things. That's one aspect of it. Secondly, when you have been initiated into an event like that,
Yes.
let's say your first encounter sexually is rape or abuse. The initial emotions that would be released are from hormones in your body: oxytocin, adrenaline, cortisol. Adrenaline, we know, is associated with that fight and flight response. Oxytocin is that hormone that is released when you have passion, when you have sex, when you make babies and labor. So think of all of that blended together, and you're in a frightening situation to begin with. That's your initiation. You may not understand afterwards why, one, when you have sex or you're having sex with your partner, the male might not understand. I wonder why she always wants to be choked, why she wants to be slapped, why she wants to be restrained.
You're getting somewhere with this. You are getting somewhere with this.
Yes.
You're getting somewhere. I don't want to cut you.
Don't throw me off.
Go ahead.
So you might not understand. You might say, "Ooh, bad freak," but you do not understand that because she would have experienced those emotions before, just like drugs. When you look for that first high, although it would have been a frightening situation, because now you're with somebody comfortable, you want to relive that again. And sometimes you might tell him, choke me, or grab me, or slap me, or cuff me.
And it is because of
what you would have been initiated into. And secondly, when I was talking about triggers, or thirdly rather, it could happen in the flip, which is she may not understand what her triggers are, and you might tell yourself, okay, we're enjoying this and we're playing around and we're fooling around and we're making love, and then you decide to blindfold her, or you decide to tie her hands, and then she starts freaking out and she starts screaming, and you can't understand why, but it's the same thing, but it's the flip that happened. It was a trigger for her, so it could work for or against you. And sometimes it's just for us, one, to understand the partner that you're with, or two, as I was saying in terms of the teenagers, for us to understand sometimes, one, what goes on, explain to them what goes on in their body, and two, if they've had that situation, for you to understand and not say, well, okay, she promiscuous because somebody would have interfered with her early, so now all she wants is man, man, man. No, that's not it. It's something, it's a chemical response that's occurring inside of her that you have to address, and you may have to seek therapy or somebody
counseling
that you can talk to.
And as you go from therapy into counseling, I really want to encourage parents to ensure that they have an open door policy. An open door policy whereby your children can come in and talk to them about anything. Sometimes there are some parents, and I've experienced working along and counseling young persons, even from that place where you see maybe a stepfather or some relative would have interfered with. And I remember there was even an incident where the stepdad would put paper on the ground, so it's easy to walk in and not make any noise, and she became pregnant at, I think it was 13, and even though she was saying to mom, this is what my stepdad, she would have believed the relationship that she would have been in over her child. And sometimes there are a lot of parents who would allow their spouse or maybe and just say, listen, this never happened. You need to shut up and be quiet. But it is of importance that we cover our children. We need to ensure that we can be able to find someone, as you said, that we can be able to confide in, share, seek help for these children, or even as a young person who would have been going through these times, that at the end of the day you ensure that you talk to somebody, because if you suppress, then at the end of the day you forfeit your purpose and your calling, and it places you in a place of stagnation and dormancy. Let's talk about from a spiritual standpoint, everything that you would have experienced, because I know today is really a heart-to-heart session. It's very, very deep. From your spiritual standpoint, how all the negatives that would have come into your life, how it would have helped you to grow into such a strong, powerful young woman.
Before I touch on the spirituality, I want to mention something about the openness with your children. Sometimes, some of us, we're still primitive. We don't want to talk about sex, we don't want to talk about boys, and we have a taboo stigma on, we have a taboo label, on a lot of topics. So, as parents, I would have heard of instances where you talk to your daughter and you tell her, don't have sex because you'll get pregnant. But you didn't tell her anything else. So now, because the children are so smart these days, because I know I would tell my 6-year-old, don't eat the 2 donuts. And she would eat 1. And I would say, but I said don't eat it. And she said, you said don't eat 2, mommy. You didn't say don't eat 1. And it's the same thing they do. They play on words in order to get their way. And I'm saying this because I've heard of a real life situation where the mother would have constantly told the child, do not have sex because you'll get pregnant.
Yes.
But the child was having anal sex. And that's a different topic. So she was constantly checking her because she didn't trust her. She was constantly checking to make sure that her hymen was intact.
In place, yes.
So she spoke to her about pregnancy, but she didn't talk to her about STDs, and she contracted an STD.
Yeah, this is a real deep subject.
From still having sex. So
yes.
we talk about things halfway. But in this day and age, you can't, because whatever it is we don't tell them, they would see or they would learn
and even
somewhere else.
But I'm even looking from the level of everybody now have their phones. So, and parents would give their children that phone and they're learning so many things from the phone. Let's talk a bit about that, because it's really an eye-opener for our young people, and they are learning a lot. So it's important that parents be able to learn how to balance.
For me, openness is the key, because they are exposed to so many things and exposed to so many things so quickly all at once. Sometimes I feel like their brains are in overdrive. Because I'll give you one instance. I remember when my teenager, she's now a teenager, when she asked me, we spoke about sex early, but I remember her
I think just that you would take up a page from my book.
I remember her asking me, we spoke about porn and we spoke about sex.
Yes.
And then I remember
How old is your teenager?
She's 13.
I
She
like
just
that.
turned 13.
Yes.
Right. And I remember her asking me one time about same sex, because she would have saw an episode. She would have seen an episode with 2 women on the TV. So she was asking me what that is. So why are 2 women together if the only reason, you told me, mommy, the only reason why 2 persons are supposed to have sex is when they want to make a baby. But why would 2 ladies be doing that? I had to explain to her now that is vice and how that is wrong. And then she went on to a topic that I wasn't even ready for. She asked me about, so what about transgenders? And I'm like, huh? So
At that age, yes.
So she's like, if a man cuts off his penis and then converts it into a vagina, would he still be able to impregnate somebody? And we had to go down a rabbit hole of questions. And as parents, we're afraid to do that because we want to just tell them, hey.
That's enough, yes.
But you can't do that. You have to be able to be open. I could not have shut up and said, girl, don't ask me no nonsense. Because then she would Google it and she would research it, and then it would send her down into videos and into pictures that you don't want them looking at. So that's the openness to me that you have to be able to establish with your children. Want to tell them about everything. I know a 17-year-old who has never seen her period. And I'm talking to her about it, and she's saying, I'm waiting for the blood to come. And I'm like, what is the blood?
Yeah.
The blood, mommy said the blood would come. Explain to me what is the blood. And she could not explain to me what the blood is. And it's because her mother didn't take the time to explain to her what menstruation is. And I'm saying in 2020, we're in the 20th century, that shouldn't even be a case.
So we're saying that parents
you need to be a little bit more open with your
their
kids.
Children.
And with regards to me and my spirituality, for me, I would have told myself that if I didn't have a purpose here, then one of those incidents would have snuffed me out already.
Snuffed you out, or I'm thinking maybe you would have also been promiscuous.
I don't know, but had it not been for God, I would not have been here. Whatever the outcome is, I believe that I am here, and I am still standing because I have a purpose. advice that I gave before in terms of grounding yourself in the present is what I do. We look at celebrities and we say, this person would have been in child pornography. This person would have been experienced poverty. This person would have been raped, kidnapped, and we look at them and we don't look at ourselves. And I'm getting somewhere with this. You may look at me and you may say, I didn't know I'll go through all of that. Mm-hmm. And then you all are where you all are today. Where am I? This is not stardom.
No.
This is not stardom. This is real life. And all what have happened is I was able to turn all those negative situations and use it to heal myself, yes, and to hone myself.
I like that word, heal yourself.
I was able to heal myself and hone myself, and all it did is assisted me to be an amended version of myself, and now I'm an amplified version of myself, and that's all that there is to it. And you will look at people and you'd say, they feel this, it, and they feel that they're better than, but it's not that, because now that I'm sharing with you, you see now that I am this multi-dimensional person that would have housed and host so many negative situations, and I am here, and when you see me walk and when you see me talk, it's simply because I would have overcome. So that's the reason why I'm here today, and that I'm talking to somebody and hoping that my message would help somebody to heal. That's why I'm here. That's the main reason why I'm here. But sorry, I strayed from talking about my
that's all right.
My spirituality. I thank God now, because I know now how to pray, for the spirit of discernment. Because sometimes you're in a situation.
Let's talk about discernment, because people say, what is the discernment? Because you're growing up, mommy, recovering. Let them understand what is discernment.
Sometimes for me, discernment is, it's not always that still small voice. Sometimes it's the still small stirring. You're in a place, some people say they trust vibe, they call it vibe, they call it instinct, some people call it intuition. I call it the spirit of discernment. You're in a place and you feel a vibe and something feels off.
Yeah, get out of here.
It's for you to move.
Don't go in that car.
It's for you to move, and I live my life like that. If it doesn't feel right, then I don't. If it is, I have a second guess in my mind, then I don't. So because of all those instances, I pray every day for the spirit of discernment, for me to be able to know when to move, when to run, when to stop talking, when to say something. And I really thank God for that on my life. I also want to thank God for, there's something we call quickening. I think it's similar to discernment.
And that quickening in your spirit, yes?
I think it's similar to discernment as well. So they're more or less one and the same. So I don't have to expound on that. Mm-hmm. But like I said in my last 2 episodes, I don't do anything without praying, and I think you can see why now. Because it gives you that covering, it gives you that protection. There's nothing that you should do without God, because anything that you do without Him, without consulting first, and by consulting I mean really praying, it would be empty. It would be empty. You know, you ever heard the term empty biggish? Mm-hmm. Like you're making up yourself, and you're 1 and 2 and making 3. Because there's no God in it. So sometimes we do some things and you don't understand why you're not making progress. Mm-hmm. You have all the money in the world and you have the nicest buildings, and your buildings are empty. You are coming up with all these designs or all these projects and nobody's coming.
Yes.
Because you don't have God in it.
Yeah.
And
it starts with God.
You have to make Him the center, or else everything that you do will be a waste and it'll be empty.
Yeah, because you see, that's what the word says, and we live by the word. In all our ways, we acknowledge God, and most definitely He would direct our path. But what I've seen is, even while you all were in my womb, I would have dedicated you all to God from inception and conceiving. Yes, it was about saying, listen, God, even from my womb, I place Keela in your hands. I declare your protection and your covering I declare that she is blessed and that she will be highly favored by you. So I covered you and your brother from the womb. And so even as you all would have grown up into young ladies and even keen on into a young man and aspiring to fulfill purpose, I see where even the enemy, even he would have sent attacks over your life, that the covering, you spoke about it last week, that protection of God rested upon you all in spite of so many things that would have happened. And I want to thank God for that. I want to thank God that in the midst of it all, that we were able to overcome in the midst of the struggles that we would have faced as a family. But more so, I want to thank you. And when I'm thinking about growing up from the level of the church, I want you to talk about this because that foundation would have given you something, even from the level of the home and from the church, even in these trying and difficult times. Just talk about that for persons on the outside, because some people would say, well, I don't think that I need to go to church. I could stay home. And let's talk about finding a place of where they can come and fellowship and give that praise to God, because God would have been good to so many persons. And even as you would have shared, I remember when you called me and you said, I don't know why I'm doing this. Mommy, I don't know why. I have to come back and I don't think I want to even share this story. And I said, it is not about me, it's about you and God. And obedience is really, it's the key to produce blessings in your life. And I want you to encourage persons on the outside, because it wasn't just about your beauty, your brains, your intelligence, and being able to overcome, but it was really that spiritual guidance, as you would talk about the Holy Spirit. And there are a lot of people that need God. They need God outside of everything that's happening. They need that center. He has to be the person, who pilots and direct their lives as they go through rough times. So let's talk about that and give them some strength as we get ready to go.
We talk about church, and persons would say, I don't need to go to church. The Bible talks about the gathering of the saints. You can check us down at Sanctuary of Praise. That's a free ad, by the way. Church and God and family. No man is an island, and we need people. In as much as you might say, what do I need friends for? What do I need people for? And sometimes a lot of the issues that we go through in our life, like for me personally, I had major trust issues. I still probably do, and that's me being very
let me
open.
stick a pin. I hear you talking about trust issues. I think we could go a little further, because I'm not sure if you'll be back next week with me. Let's talk a bit
No,
about...
you have to pay me if I come back next week.
Let's talk about trust issues, because there are a lot of persons who would have experienced trauma, and they, even in marriage, they have a problem in trusting their husband. Is either maybe, I remember I was counseling a young lady, and she would have been in a situation where her husband would have interfered with one of her daughters, and then she got married, and then now getting married, as much as she would have moved on, trust is really a big issue. I remember also counseling another person, and he was talking about being slapped and being choked, and as much as you're saying don't do this to me, the other person feels like this is the way that I would express myself, not even knowing that it's hurting the other person. And again, now moving on to go in another relationship, we have a lot of trust issues that's because of what would have happened. Let's talk a bit about, you were saying that with regards to trust and how you were able to bounce back.
For me, with the issues of trust in marriage, the only thing that can help that is communication, because like I said before, Your partner won't know how you're feeling unless you talk to them. That's one. Fairness, I believe, is a key component in marriages. It's simple. If you're fair, whatever it is you won't do, what you don't want done to you, you don't do it to me. That's fairness. Thirdly, in any given situation, whatever it is it might be, what works for me is, why would I hurt somebody that I love? Whether it be physically or mentally. If I say that I love you, I can't hurt you. And that's what works for me. You might find that I'm very brief with these things, but for me, it's not a one size fits all, but it's basic. And I think if you're able to apply that, and you could twist that and mold that and add whatever components that you want to that, but that's it. It's simple. With regards to trust, let's start from the area of, let me start from me, because that's the only place that I could speak from. Apart from my ordeals and having trust issues with persons that would have done stuff to me, I know about having trust issues with friends. I remember one incident that I was getting married, and I remember I had a friend of 10 years. She's my friend since I was in school. And I remember a week before my wedding, she didn't call. The makeup artist called, and she said, I'm moving up the bridesmaids because the chief is not coming. So I said, chief is not coming? She said, no, the chief is not coming. I said, okay. She said, you didn't know? I said, okay, no problem. So I remember calling my chief bridesmaid, who was my best friend at the time. And I said, the makeup artist said you're not coming. And she said, no, I'm not coming. I said, so you're not walking with me? You're not walking down the aisle behind me? She said, no. I said, okay, no problem. And I hung up my phone. That's the last conversation I had with her now, 7 years
But how
now.
you would have felt?
But it hurt me.
Why? Yeah, let's talk about
it. It hurt
this.
me because she was my best friend of 10 years, though. There's nothing, we had no secrets that I would have known about, because we talked about everything. I shared with her and she shared with me. But the type of person that I am, if it is you didn't see it fit to come to me to say anything, I don't like to lament on things. I'm very straightforward and to the point. She said nothing to me, and I didn't ask. I walked down the aisle by myself. I fluffed my own trail, and well, you dried my eyes.
I remember. I even fit in as your maid of honor that day. So,
I mean, all sorts of things would have happened after that, and this is not an attempt for us to. I'm not trying to reach out.
No, but
you're not trying to mend it. I'm not saying that.
I think this is a good time for mending a relationship that would have been broken, because this wasn't part of the discussion.
No.
This is a discussion that
but you
just
probed
fit
me
in.
though.
No. So this is a good time for reunion. Somebody say yes. It's a good time for reunion, and I'm saying after all this, we would plan something nice for a reunion, right? And it good.
I hear
right?
you.
Nice.
I hear
and
you.
That was all good.
Yeah, but it's fine though, because I mean, everything happens for a reason, and that is how that went on. And I'm just saying that to say that blended with all my other situations, it would have had me messed up for a while. That I would have had trust issues with friends and with people, and I'm very selective about who I let into my space.
And now that you really have brought up the past, sometimes I look at you and I say, girl, why are you so serious?
Yeah.
Why are you so sharp? Why
am I so cold?
And why are you so cold? And sometimes people don't understand you and what you have been through, but they would have looked at you. And even I actually forgot exactly some of the things that you would have been through. I'm at that stage in my life, but now I understand why you're always very firm, and you have that level of disposition. It's not just being cocky, but I believe it's just protecting yourself based on everything that would have happened.
And with regards to my kids, I shelter my kids. If you want to call me overprotective, then I am. Because I don't trust people, and I mean in general, especially with my kids. My kids don't do sleepovers. They don't do play dates without me being present, because I don't know who you have in your home.
Yes.
I don't know who you have around. I'm not saying that not because they didn't interfere with your child doesn't mean they wouldn't interfere with mine. And that is not something that I'm willing to risk. So it's far and wide, with me protecting my space, with me protecting my kids, with me protecting my marriage. I am very serious about who I let in my space or within my circle. Want to protect my energy and to protect my mental state.
I like that, your energy, because when we have another session of Chit Chat, we need to talk about learning to let go, because there are some persons and people that we would have caused to come into our lives at a certain time, but there are times when that season is up and they have to move on, you know, and people come into our lives for reasons and for seasons, and when the purpose would have been accomplished, then it's time to go. And sometimes we keep holding on, and we
But that's only if you're able to identify that. If you can't identify that, okay, this person was just here to serve this purpose and to teach me this lesson, then that's where you string along to something that is empty, is over.
Yes.
And it's just for you to be able to identify that this is over, it's closed. I learned the lesson that I was supposed to learn. I got what I was supposed to get out of the experience, and you just move on. And it's not about, I mean, we talk about forgiving and letting go.
Yes, because I want to talk about forgiveness, because with everything that have happened, let's talk about you detoxing, forgiving, and God would have been worked on your life in such a way.
I have not held any grudges against anybody that would have done anything to me, whether from the assaults or friends or anything like that. I knew that I was healed from the situation when I was able to see them after, and I didn't feel like running into a hole.
Yes.
I remember my first instance with seeing the school incident, the guy from the school incident after. I remember I took off running, and you would have swear somebody was running behind me. But after I had to go through my healing process, and I was completely over it, if you want to call it that, then I was able to see him, and it didn't cause a stir within me. It didn't give me that fright anymore. Yeah. But forgiveness is something that you have to pray for, because it's not easy. I mean, you can forgive somebody and say you can forgive, but I don't forget.
Yes.
And that's something that you have to pray for, because it does not come easy. And for me, I know that that is a serious thing with me. I will forgive you, and we will be kind, and I would help you out if you need to, but don't look for me in that kind of capacity to function in that capacity that we did, and it's not.
You've learned your lesson.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I could love you from a distance. I could still want to see you do good and be good.
Make progress.
But just stay in my corner, because I'm fine.
You know, I want to thank God for His peace in the midst of the trials and the tests, and I think also because of our relationship, nothing I know. God says, I will give you that peace. The peace which passeth all understanding. And sometimes they see us walk and we look like, yeah, everything is okay. But the people just don't know what people are going through. You know, and I want to thank God for that peace that He was able to give us as a family. The peace which passeth all understanding, even when we just didn't know how we would have get through this situation. There He came, and He just put things in right perspective for us. I want you to talk to men out there who at some point in time, you know, they would have abused or caused women to go through trauma. Just a bit as to, you know, some things that needs to be done with regards to men and the attacks that they would hurl at women, because there are some men out there, you know, they make their wives feel uncomfortable, maybe from relationships that they would have been in, and at the end of the day, even for a wife, you know, who would have gone through trauma. I remember even counseling a young lady, and every time it's time now to get intimate, that there is a shutdown, because there is always that memory of whatever happened, so there doesn't have that connection when it comes to becoming intimate, because people need coping skills to deal. As much as we pray and all that, there are some things that's needed to give them that cushion to push on. Talk to me.
For the men, I am not a man, so I cannot speak adequately for a man.
Yeah, Dion wish that he was here, you know, but I
but
just
for a
wanted
woman being on the receiving end, what I could say is, if you need to shout at me for me to hear you, then you're not a man. If you need to hit me for me to hear you, then you failed. You would have forfeited your title if you think that you need to use force to get my attention. Because it's the same thing for a leader. If I am the head, I don't have to constantly remind you that I'm leading or how I'm going to lead. I am supposed to lead by example.
Yes.
My actions are supposed to show you that I am in control, that I've got this, and I could sufficiently support what's taking place here. In relationships, men need to understand with women, because we are emotional creatures, we don't forget. So you would shout at me today, and then you'd expect that when you come tonight and you give me that shoulder touch, that I would roll over. But that's not how we're wired.
Yes.
So you now have to know how to, I spoke about this before, I mean, you would have to know how to scale your wall, but I mean, that's your wife. A softer approach always works for us. I mean, some men feel like they need to be firm because there's some women who feel they are men too. And sometimes they give men a lot of opposition. So that way, in that, the man feels like he needs to be louder than, he needs to be more aggressive than, to be able to heard and to be heard. And sometimes, as women, we need to know our place. Sometimes we really need to just simmer down and settle down. And I'm not saying that women look for aggression. I'm just saying that sometimes we are a contributory factor to men acting out the way that they act. But with regards to men and the way that they treat their wives, like I said before, and it's always simple for me.
Women as a whole.
If it is you love me, you don't hurt me, you don't hurt something that you love. And that would mean how you talk to me, how you hold me, how you treat me. It could even be as simple as you take care of the home. Some persons, you want us to build a new house. You want us to build a new house together. You and your husband are going to build a new house, but you're renting. And he is not helping you around the house. So where you want me to move in a new house with you to do? You want me to build a new house with you, and you are not even sufficiently taking care
contributing
of the home that we're renting in. So then, and that's how most women are wired, and that's how we think. So she would be saying, but if you can't fix it here, we would fix it in something bigger or in something better, and then we just kind of shut down and we shut out. So sometimes men need to reevaluate themselves and the way they come at us.
Yeah, and I believe too that men need to learn how to respect women. Learn how to respect women, respect their bodies, learn when someone says no, it is no. When I say don't touch me, don't touch me. You know, and
but some men feel that they're entitled to, because you're my wife. They believe that I have to, and if I say give, then you should avail yourself to me. But that's not how it works too, because if I say no, no means no. And even though it's husband and wife and it's consensual, if she says no and she's not in the mood or whatever it is, and you choose now to apply force to get that done, I hope you know that that's rape. And that's a topic that people don't want to talk about, but it is rape, because my no should mean no.
Yes. You know, I really want to thank God for this level of discussion. We went to a total different level this week, and I know it was the leading of the Holy Spirit. This is not you. This have nothing to do with you.
Because you know me
at all. You
wasn't catching me to talk about this.
I know that it was God. I remember when you came to me and you said, "Mommy, listen." I said, "Girl, this is all God. Pray about it." You know, and then you will determine what you want to do. And I want to say thank you so much for sharing. And I know that there are a lot of persons that have been encouraged and healed from you sharing your testimony and your story. From the level of the church, as I would have said before, Chit Chat is not just about old talk. Chit Chat is not just about people coming and just saying, I want to talk about this and I want to talk about that, and expose ourselves, expose our nakedness. No, I think that God would have given me this ministry, Chit Chat. I'm not talking about church. I'm talking about Chit Chat, Sonia. And it's a place where you can come and have real open discussion about life issues that women and girls and even men would have gone through, and we would have seen the transformative power of God transform their lives and bringing them through. So I want to thank God, because just like Joseph would have been one that his brothers would have hated him, and there were so many attacks that was hurled at him. But we see in the midst of it, his father gave him a coat of many colors. And so I see you have a coat of so many colors that you are wearing. And in light of that, he went from the pit to the palace. And so you're just one of God's designers, original, that he would have placed here on this earth. And I know going forward that the sky is the limit. You can only go further. Let me say thanks to all the persons who would have been calling, not only me, but you, because you have now which soon you would have your own channel, because of the amount of persons that would have been calling for counseling. I really want to thank God for using this channel whereby we can be able to touch so many lives. Even our viewing rates would have gone up to over 8,000K going up. We want to thank God for that. Every week we would have been increasing on our viewing audience, and it says something for me that we are doing something great, that this is God driven, it's divine, and a lot of lives are being touched. So I really want to thank God for the blessings over my family, the protection over my children. I want to thank him for saving your life, because so many things would have happened and you haven't even opened your boxes yet. You just share a little bit and you gave persons a little sneak preview of some of the things that you would have gone through, but all God. And we want to say thanks to God. I want to say thanks to your dad, who would have always played a pivotal role in ensuring that there was always balance in the family, and that God would continue to keep us. Even as I talk with you, I break every generational curse. Every generational curse that would have passed down, because sometimes even in families we tend to see that what would have happened to mom happened to another child and another child, and it goes on from generation to generation. But as parents, we need to know exactly how to break things from the womb. We need to also pray and draw a bloodline over our children. It's about that daily talk. It's about that daily commitment. The word says a family that prays together stays together. And so we see where prayer would have worked for us, and having that relationship with God. And Keela is just a testimony of what God have been doing in our lives and continue to do. Any closing remarks?
I want to just encourage persons. I know I would have been here for 3 episodes. I want well, 3rd time's a charm, that's what they say. I know that I would have been here for 3 episodes, and it's for persons to understand that the reason why I am here is not just for scintillating conversation. It's not, okay, we started off the first episode and we were talking about my private life and we had a lot of laughs and everybody liked it, mammy. And everybody liked the jokes, and then the second one we got spiritual, and then the third one now we're now deeper.
Yeah. Wow.
It's for us to understand that we are not here, I am not here, we are not doing it for the likes and the shares.
No.
It's really just us using this as a platform to be able to help somebody, to reach somebody that doesn't have the courage to speak out, the courage to, or even know what to do in situations that's going on with them they don't understand. This is just a platform and an avenue for you to be able to reach out to somebody, not me. Reach out, you can reach out. Reach out to my mom, or even in instances where you feel you need professional help, reach out and talk to somebody, because not until you open up about it, you won't be able to heal from it once you're not speaking your truth, because burying it won't help. So that's my 2 cents. I want to thank everybody for viewing. I want to thank all those who would have been touched and impacted by all the things that I would have said for the past 3 episodes. Thanks for having me here. And in the words of my 6-year-old, who would have heard it somewhere and continuously says it home, but it's so applicable. She says, A for apple, B for bat, and see about yourself. Okay? That's my closing remarks.
All right, thank you so much, Keela. And just for all our viewers to know that Keela and I, and you don't know but I'm telling you now, we will be hosting our first workshop, restoration over past situations that you have been facing. If you are interested, please sign up. Our number, take my number right now, it's coming on 280-4234. Would you be able to share your number? So persons can, you don't want nobody have it.
Slide into my DM. Slide into my DM. Don't call me.
So please call because we are hosting a powerful workshop, because there are a lot of persons that are asking for counseling, and that would be our first mother-daughter workshop. Yes? Yes, showing me deep, yes. Right, so we look forward, and that would be in our upcoming month, which would be August. Yes, the first week in August. So may God richly bless you. Thank you so much. And Keela, wow, it's been an honor sharing this set with you. So Father, it is to you we give the glory. It is to you that we give the praise, because you have done so much for us. And so we continue to bless your holy name. It is to you, Holy Father, there is none like you. And so today we thank you for your hand of sovereign protection that would have been over our lives as a family. Even Keela, that she were able to surpass all the hurdles, all the trauma, all the difficulties that she would have faced throughout the sojourn of life. Thank you for your strength, which continues to make perfect in her times of weakness. And so I continue to declare the protection of God over her family, not just her family, but my entire household. I seal my husband, Keela, you, your husband, my 3 grandchildren, and myself and my husband with the blood of Jesus. And I continue to declare, if God be for you, who can be against you? And no weapon that has been fashioned against us as a family would never prosper.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name. I love you.
I love you too.
Smooches.